Before rushing into battle, it's important to have a healthy snack to boost your stats. If you're just recently returning to the game, you might be wondering why you can't use your old recipes anymore. That's because the food system saw a minor overhaul recently. In this video, I'll provide a comprehensive guide to the food system so you can make the most out of this newfound freedom in your ARC's diet. Previously, if you wanted to maximize your damage output, you had to forego additional stats almost entirely and eat crisp meat exclusively. After a while, that taste does become stale, so now, the amount of food items required to maximize their effectiveness is reduced from 10 to 5. This hasn't changed the importance of meat in our food recipes, but it does allow us to eat seafood, vegetables, and fruit without sacrificing power. Similarly, crisp food isn't the only important food type anymore, since now you can dedicate 5 items to a different kind of food, like robust, light, and rich, in order to receive different kinds of buffs. This also means that gathering different kinds of food items is more important than before. Food can be broken down very easily. There are 4 different food types, and each of them has 4 different flavors. Meat provides up to 10% unconditional potency. The potency you gain from food applies to all of your damage, even special equipment and Mars. Fruit, on the other hand, boosts your maximum PP by up to 20, which can be really useful, especially for people using Archie weapons. Vegetables boost damage resistance by up to 10%, which really helps with surviving attacks. Lastly, seafood boosts maximum HP, which also helps with survival, and also boosts HP recovering effects that scale with your max HP. When it comes to flavors, crisp food boosts weak point damage by up to 5%. This also applies to special armaments, and if you're a technique user, simply matching elemental weakness is enough to trigger this bonus. Rich food reduces your PP consumption by up to 10%. This can be very useful on classes that are a little bit more PP hungry, but the effect doesn't do a lot for Mars, since those tend to use PA that consume all PP a lot. Light food, on the other hand, boosts PP recovery by up to 20%. This buff boosts both passive and active PP recovery, so pretty much every class will see a lot of value in it, especially Mars with its high PP recovery normal attacks. Lastly, robust food boosts your HP recovery by up to 50%. This buff doesn't apply to Mars healing effects, unfortunately, but it does boost things like Rest Assign, EX augments, and Skill Ring recovery effects. Tector's Wrist Assign, for example, can heal them for 105% of their max HP without even using the Braver add-on skill. What buffs you ultimately want will boil down to your personal preferences and your build. However, having 5 crisp food and 5 meat is pretty much mandatory, but unlike before, we don't have to use crisp meat specifically. This can influence what kind of food you want to focus on. For example, if you want to maximize your max HP and PP recovery, you could run something like light meat and crisp seafood. If you ever farmed meat in Stia, I'm sure you can imagine why this level of freedom is a boon. I personally want to buff my HP recovery effects, specifically to gain more value out of my skill rings. This allows me to swap my Braver add-on skill to something else like Burn Resistance, since Burn will lower your damage output. Farming food is easy and doesn't take too much time if you know where to look. I'll share my maps with you and recommend mapping out your own map along the way, so you don't have to remember all the spots. You can have up to 50 markers per region, and they persist on your map, even if you close the game. If for any reason you have trouble finding your desired food, you can always enable your mag sonar to have an easier time finding things. I myself am a little bit visually impaired, so it helps from time to time. Meat is infinitely farmable since tames spawn like any regular enemy, but other food ingredients have a daily limit. It shouldn't pose too much of an issue, however. Also, keep in mind that while farming in Aleo, Ritem and Kavaris you could encounter a tame trapper trial. It rewards an insane amount of food materials. Anyway, here are the maps. Aleo is very straightforward. Almost everything has been consolidated into 3 spots you have to visit, which makes farming food very relaxing. Central Alio is the best spot to farm meat, since every kind spawns here, and you're likely going to visit this place for your daily alpha reactors anyway. Ritem is a little bit all over the place. This region still uses the old way of distributing food items, where it's less about convenience and more about realism. The mag sonar is probably at its most useful here. Camels dropping crisp food spawn almost everywhere, so you can farm food wherever you want. Ferris is very interesting when it comes to farming food, since it not only has the more consolidated locations, like in Alio, it also has the unique quirk where every single Thames drops robust meat. If you plan on using HP recovery effects, swapping crisp meat for robust ones is a no-brainer. Stia is rather infamous for being very difficult to work with when it comes to crisp meat. It doesn't help that almost all food is consolidated into 2 areas, leaving very little to farm in the 3rd one. So, I recommend skipping crisp meat here and using any other farmable meat, and then focus on crisp seafoods, fruits, or vegetables. And that's about it! Have fun cooking your perfect recipes! And I'll see y'all in-game. Take care!